Hey, welcome to Time+Tide. My name is Andrew McCutcheon. I have lost my voice, but I have gained a pretty fancy watch. What are you wearing today? I'm going to ask you first before I quickly demonstrate mine. I'm wearing the Vanguard Skeleton Color Dreams 43mm by Franck Muller, which gives you a big clue as to what we're looking into today. It is the Vanguard Rose Skeleton Black Diamonds. Look at this fancy thing. Now, I want to get one thing out of the way, which I've mentioned in all Franck Muller videos because I want to reiterate this point. Franck Muller is just 30 years old. The brand first burst onto the scene in 1992 with what we still see to this day as a very recognizable feature, which is this Curvex case, which is quite distinctive. So these young brands have become known in a short time for really doing unusual, groundbreaking things. And I think today is not really an exception because we have a skeletonized dial that manages to work into the architecture of the bridges and the architecture of the skeletonized components. Beautiful things like this beautiful rose design that has 75 brilliant cut diamonds hand set into that structural piece. So we have a model that was introduced in 2021 and that now moves on to a variation with 422 black diamonds set into the case. And if your mind is reeling, if you are thinking, what does that sort of an art piece, a jewelry piece set me back, especially when the roses are decorated from both sides of the skeletonized movement, the answer is 70,700 Australian dollars. I just know that that's what you're thinking. And I know that if that's still in your budget, you're gonna keep listening. And if it's not, stay anyway, because there's some cool things to talk about. Now, one last important point about the floral decorations is that they are hand chamfered, satin finished, and hand painted layer by layer to bring out this rich color. And having painted numerals on a Franck Muller watch, I know how much of a fine art it is to apply paint in a consistent and rich way that still has enough paint for there to be dimension, but not so much that it bleeds outside of its shape. Now, before we get too technical and get into the movement and the structure of this watch, let's talk about that absolutely fetching and very, very noticeable enamel finish on the roses within this design. Now, before we get too technical, because this really is a watch that you eat with your eyes, it's not needing to be as cerebral as other Franck Muller movements, which, you know, having the tagline, the master of complications, there's usually a technical element. This really is one that is going to appeal without even needing to hear about the hardware that is powering this watch. Now let's get into the colors of enamel that you can see from both sides of the case, which obviously is transparent on the front and the back. Now, this floral decoration is said to be inspired by flowers around the Gento manufacture. I've been there several times. It is a bucolic environment, so I believe that all the way. And the colors that we have in this enamel are a crisp white with green accents on the leaves and diamonds. There's cherry red with rubies, lime green with green diamonds, and pastel pink with pink sapphires to match. And of course, this sleek black edition here has that finishing touch, which looks pretty spectacular with this fully diamond set case with diamonds everywhere but the crown and the case back. Now, that black theme continues to the movement where the bridges are PBD coated, meaning that they really provide a neutral dark backdrop for these floral decorations to really pop off. In terms of the movement, we have the 1540 VS17 in-house caliber, which is a manually wound movement with twin barrels that offers a 4-day power reserve, which is an impressive design feat given the compact nature of the caliber and the relative slimness of the watch. There's 153 components and the entire gear train can be viewed through both the front and the back of the watch. Now, in terms of the specs of the watch, for Franck Muller, this is very slim and very slight. We have a height of just 10.4 millimeters. We have a lug-to-lug distance of 46.3, but again, effectively with an integrated strap and no lugs to speak of, that is the extent of it. It's very snug despite that width. And we have a distance across the case of 35 millimeters, which is a millimeter slimmer than the Curvex CX36 models we've been looking at. The watch is water resistant to 30 meters and comes on a hand-sewn alligator strap with a rubber underside, which makes it feel quite sporty and ready for daily life. As I mentioned, the price is 70,700 Australian dollars. This is a really quite a spectacular and giving watch on the wrist, as it is just reflecting off every possible light source from every angle. And it has, of course, in addition to that bling, it has this very visible and noticeable handcrafted element in the way that these enamel features on the dial and these handset jewels have come together to really make something quite different. At the very least, I haven't seen a watch quite like this one. I hope you've enjoyed this review. You know what to do. Tell us what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching Time+Tide.